You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.
But for this particular episode from PopCon Los Angeles, we've got actually some cachet on the show. We got, as you know, Mark Ryan, the big robot from Transmorphers, Transgenders, whatever the Michael Bay movie was. And then, of course, we got an Academy Award winner.
That's correct.
3 times, I think.
No, just one.
Just one.
Oh, once enough.
I'm out of here.
You've been nominated. How many times have you been nominated?
Just once.
Just once. Once
This
is enough.
is Joe Viskocil.
Viskocil.
You said it's Viskocil. We just had the Howard Cosell.
Well, it used to be Visconti to my Italian friends, but now it's Viskocil.
That's cool.
No, actually, I'm Czechoslovakian. So.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
The Italians adopted you anyway?
Well, they're great pasta.
Well, that's right. That's right.
And
So,
great wine.
listen, you're a bit of a legend. You've worked on the Star Wars films, Team America, which is a classic.
Team America.
You know, you've worked with James Cameron, some other exciting people. Now you're doing combat radio. What's next, I wonder? Is there anything more you can do to define yourself?
Yeah, it's called retirement.
Right.
Because CG has taken over basically my job in the way of miniatures and explosions and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, it's all done by the computer, and there's a big difference between King Kong, the original, and Jurassic Park. One was done by hand, and one was done by computer, and it just doesn't have the heart and soul. King Kong, the original, was done by hand. The human element, you know, instead of the computer element. So I'm being phased out to a certain degree.
When I saw the Peter Jackson King Kong, I came out of a screening, or I know I was waiting in line. And people were streaming out, and this total stranger turns to me and says, "It's like nothing you've ever seen before." And I said, "Bullshit! Yeah. It's like King Kong."
It is bullshit.
There was another one, and
there
it was
was
better.
Another one.
You know,
even the one with Rick Baker in the suit.
It's interesting that you defined it as heart and soul, like human elements, the difference between your professional integrity work-wise and now what these CGI guys are trying to substitute it with. And it's interesting because if we all remember Empire Strikes Back, the great scene in that is the Snowwalker scene, which I understand took months to put together. But, you know, when you compare that to the new stuff Lucas is doing, obviously those movies have an element to them, whether you can pick it up or not, that just sets them apart from anything else that was done.
Well, speaking from my point of view, having done Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, the last 3 movies sucked fucking big time.
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah, it is putting it nicely.
You don't have to dress things up here, Joe. You can just say what you mean.
I can't
really.
I can't even watch it.
Well, there's really
there is nothing.
It is unwatchable.
It is unwatchable, and there was. Here's the key: there was no fun. Yeah. There was no fun. There was no Han Solo. There was no even. You could tell the difference in the way of Yoda. I mean, I'd rather have seen the puppet than CG. I mean, I don't give a shit how beautiful it looks and how clean it looks. I mean, get rid of the strings, get rid of the hand behind his head, and, geez, come on. I mean, that's crazy.
No, you're right. They are unwatchable, and there's so many elements about it. He had 20 years plus to develop it, and that's what we're all given.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because it's a talentless organization now, they're basically repackaging them with a 3D pass, and how many ways can you skin a cat on the same franchise?
He's finding a way.
Yeah,
he is finding a way.
Yeah, and now you can get this version, a new version, a Blu-ray version.
No. When he put the ring around the Death Star, that was it.
Is that where you tapped out?
Absolutely. I was flabbergasted.
You were okay with Han Solo not shooting Guido first?
I don't give a shit about that. I'm just thinking about my work, and my work was blowing up the Death Star, and when you add a cheap-ass fucking ring around the Death Star, left over from some Star Trek episode, it just didn't work. You don't colorize the Rosebud sled at the end of Citizen Kane. You don't put a ring around that.
I think Turner wanted to, though, at one point.
They did, yes, but thank God Orson Welles had a perfect contract. But George owns it, So but he puts a fucking ring around the Death Star is like sacrilegious. It's the people that the baby boomers that saw this movie, and they see that they just everybody cringes.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that when we had our I think 25th anniversary, we had a screening with all the crew and everybody in at the Academy. George came up after the movie and said, "Well, there's a few things I still need to change." Everybody just
about his personality or about the movies.
About the movie, he wanted to change it more.
Really?
Yes, and there was a huge groan in the audience
when it made its first,
and the groan was coming from the crew, crew that makes the film, that made the film.
When Star Wars made its first $1 billion, he thought he should tweak it to make a second billion, basically.
I don't know.
Isn't it all about license? Let's get off this subject because I know you're about ready to go on a tirade, and you have people who want to meet you, and they don't want to meet you angry.
No, they want to meet you angry. So if I can ask about the Team America World Police, because it seemed like
no CGI there.
That
Gary.
I mean, this is one of my favorite films, and not only does it work on every level, it works as a comedy, obviously, but it works as an action film. It works as a musical. But also, I grew up loving the Thunderbirds.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
We were just talking about that.
I always wanted a Thunderbirds movie, and then they made a Thunderbirds movie, and it had nothing to do with Thunderbirds. So I felt I got my Thunderbirds movie with Team America.
That's exact. Growing up, that was the biggest inspiration besides War of the Worlds and This Island Earth that what inspired me to do miniature pyrotechnics. I mean, they were blowing something up every single episode with Thunderbirds and Supercar and all these
Supercar.
Did
all
it
the
bother
great
you,
stuff.
Though, on Thunderbirds, that they were all brothers and sisters and they were all super talented with space travel and aeronautics? I mean, don't you think they should have mixed in a couple of dynamic outlaw personalities like bad Thunderbird dudes and a rival Legion of Doom kind of Thunderbird unit?
And
Well,
what, you
you
want the
missed
gay
Stingray, you
Thunderbirds and you want the female Thunderbirds? And
Well,
you
I'll
want,
take the female Thunderbird. I mean, would that be so bad, Joe?
Stingray was
it's
my
fine.
favorite. Stingray was mine.
You know, like
No.
Virgil,
Who's thinking that? It's a puppet show. It's a puppet show. It's
But in
like
Team
Punch and
America,
Judy, for
they
God's sake.
corrected a lot of those problems for me. They worked in some
This
female
is why
Thunderbirds.
I'm saying it works on every level. It works as a
What was
porn
your-
film.
What
I'm
was
so
what was the
lonely.
task on Team America for you?
Team America, I was in charge of all the miniature special effects, plus pyrotechnics, of course. Not so much with the puppets, but the blowing up of stuff and
Eiffel Tower? Did you do the blowing up of the Eiffel
the
Tower?
Eiffel
Of the
Tower,
pyramids?
the pyramids, all that stuff, and even Gary throwing up in the alleyway.
Act, Gary.
Yes. You can do it, Gary.
Any boss that tells you to come back to headquarters for cocktails, I want to work for.
Yeah.
But but he was throwing up pea soup with a lot of ham in it.
Did you have fun? Were you doing it going, what am I doing here with these puppets? Or did you know this is going to be pretty funny?
No, it was first of all fun.
Yeah.
I mean, working with Trey and Matt was an absolute delight because it was very serious until we did the sex scene. The sex scene with the two puppets, she and him,
Yeah.
and everything. It was. All the women left the room, left the stage totally. They didn't want to see this, and we
It got
did.
so
We had
gnarly.
shit coming out of her, and which was Tootsie Rolls, and twisted Tootsie Rolls. It was fantastic, and it was very unnerving to a lot of people. But myself and Trey were just cracking up big time.
Now, did Tootsie Roll actually pay for that product placement?
Well, you never saw the logo, so you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell. But it was quite a gas. It was a lot of fun. Trey was the one. He would come in the morning and start writing. I'm so lonely, oh
Absolutely
so
brilliant.
lonely, and by the end of the day, we got that shot in the seat. But he would, right there, he was off in the corner, and he would just be typing away, and occasionally Matt would come over and talk to him, and it was very serious at that time. So, but it was a lot of fun because we were blowing something up every day, and the puppets were Well, for them it was bad because they didn't realize how long it would take for rehearsals, and try to get 6 people on a forklift and start working them.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
No.
So I in the behind the scenes, one of the things that's so delightful is that it's clear that Trey and Matt had a competition to see if they could make the camera operator break up and ruin the take because they'd be ad-libbing so much. And so there are these outtakes where you see the camera operator blow it because he's laughing.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of that, though. There wasn't a lot of
Well,
ad-libbing.
this is what I was going to ask was, I mean, I would think the danger of that is that you're running the risk that the guys on the forklift, the guys that are going, come on.
No, there would be a smile on their face, but
Oh,
they wouldn't say anything like that because everybody was enjoying themselves.
Well, I love that they strive to emulate a Bruckheimer flick.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at that scene where they have that emotional connection in the middle of the gunfight at the end where the guy talks about cats and how he was affected by the stage play Cats.
Yeah, the only difference, the only real difference between a Bruckheimer movie and Team America, I guess, are 2 differences. The strings are visible in the Team America, and the performances are good in Team America. Other than that, it's a Bruckheimer film.
Well, there you have it. Now I think
So maybe they should put strings on the actors in a Bruckheimer film.
Well,
I
hold
think
on,
they have
hold on.
them there.
Before we go
I think
to
they're just CGI'd out.
Before,
We actually have a
before
lot
we
of-
offend
we have to
everybody
thank
else in the
Bruckheimer
industry.
for giving Mark Ryan a job on 3 Transformer films.
Yeah.
Hey,
So it's not all
I
bad.
had-
No, that
over
was
there.
Steven Spielberg, actually.
I at least inspired you to say the name Transformers correctly.
Yes.
Before we do offend everybody in the film industry in Los Angeles, I just want to say I grew up as a kid. Do you know what Airfix models are?
Yeah.
So I used to make Airfix models and go down into the cellar in our house in Doncaster and blow them up. So I just want to ask you about this because I love these pictures. And so I want you to just talk about some of these pictures because these models are absolutely bloody amazing. What they are and,
This is what's missing from today's movies.
look at this. I mean, so just walk us through what these are and
Hold it up for
how
the
long they
camera.
took to make and build and.
Well,
You
this,
guys
first
changed
of
a
all...
bit, Joe.
Oh, bullshit. Except for the hair. Look at that hair.
Man, you got that Hardy Boy look going, but you're
The
making it
Hardy,
work.
the Hardy Boy.
You're making it work, dude. Parker
Well,
Stevenson would be stoked on that.
Age is not a space and time; it's a state of mind.
Exactly.
Here is this is Joe Johnson. This is myself. This is the charge that's going to go into the
blow it
X-wing,
up, huh?
X-wing fighter.
the X-wing fighter, and then over that we put a gasoline charge, so that when we slide it down the wires, it'll blow up properly, and what you see is what you got in the movie. So, and then here's the other thing: you've got to score the model. The trick is to score the model. The more you score it, you know exactly which way the charge is going to go, and it's so there's a lot of you've got to think about a lot of things. The camera speed, you got to think about the lenses they're using. You got to think about what the model's made out of, how big is the model, all that sort of stuff.
Whether or not you want to kill everyone in the room.
Well, that's what they did originally. They brought in an effects guy before me, and the model was there 1 second, and it was on the other side of this room the next. I mean, faster is not better. Slower is better because you get more information on film. Anyways, I did blow up a lot of X-Wings for the TIE fighters and for the TIE fighters and the Death Star, it was all overlays. In other words, the explosion was placed over the over the model. The model was pulled out, and then you just have the explosion take over from there. So it was a convenient way of doing it.
Well, look at this. I mean, look at the size. I didn't realize that they were this big.
This, the AT-AT, which this was the largest one we used, only because we were blowing up the head. I mean, it was very hard. The stop-motion models were very small, very small. So they built a large model, and this is the one that was released because here's the cable, and we pulled a string, and the whole thing just comes down into the snow. But it turned out fantastic. We did a lot of we did a lot of explosions underneath them, and it was turned out great.
It looked amazing.
No, it's the best part of the movie.
And most of the stuff was in camera and usually one take.
And finally, this one. What is it? I couldn't even recognize what this was.
That's the blockade runner.
The blockade
okay.
runner at the beginning of Star Wars. And oddly enough, this model is larger than the Star Destroyer that's following it.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it was almost twice the size. But it made on screen, you see a little tiny ship going through and then this huge destroyer going overhead. It was quite a feat in the way of opticals. You know, they just made it look really small. But there was one charge that I put on the bottom of this that you see. We've been hit. I don't know what it was.
Right.
And it was the only explosion I really hated in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think at the time I loved everything about that movie when it came out in the 70s. And I think if you look back, you know, some of the work is probably better in other parts. But to me, it's not like it kills the moment.
No, it doesn't.
What's your favorite part of the film?
The last, escaping from the Death Star and the TIE Fighter and Millennium Falcon chase and all that.
Did you work on that too? That sequence too? Or?
Yeah. There was 4 explosions, 4 TIE Fighters blowing up, and it was the last, that last shot where Han Solo hits the TIE Fighter that's coming towards him, and you get this double explosion, green explosion. And what you saw was what you got. I mean, they didn't do anything in the way of opticals or the color balance or anything like that. I tried to make them all look green.
Really?
Yeah. So it was that last double explosion, and for God's sake, for the life of me, I cannot do that again. No? I don't know how I got that shot.
Wow.
Lucky break.
Lucky break.
Okay.
Wow.
We shot a lot against blue screen, which didn't turn out that well, so we shot everything against black.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know that movie was going to be successful? Could you feel it?
Well,
or did you not have any idea what you were working on?
Oh, absolutely. When I knew let's cut to 4 years prior. George Lucas had a screening of American Graffiti at USC. And somebody asked him, well, what's your next project? And he says, The Star Wars. And I heard that, I flipped out. Because I had just finished up doing Flesh Gordon, which was a lot of miniatures and stuff like that. And I said, I've got to meet him. So we brought up all this stuff to San Francisco prior to shooting one frame of film on Star Wars. And we showed him everything that we had done on Flesh Gordon. We tried to get a job out of it. We thought some good ideas. Cut to 4 years later when Gary Kurtz gives me a call, says, I understand you did some miniature pyro, and we got this whole film called Star Wars. And I said, you can have me for nothing if you want.
Did you say that?
No.
I was going to say, don't you know rule number 1 of this business?
I got like $400 a week, which is a pittance, but it didn't matter to me because the education and working on something I knew was going to be big. And here's the other thing. It was about 4 months prior to the film coming out that John Dykstra on a Friday night said he brought everybody up to the screening room and he showed the last 2 reels of Star Wars in its rough cut form, and I flipped out. I said, I'm on a winner. Yeah. This is going to be the one. And a lot of people, then the trailer comes out and everybody flips out about that.
Well, I remember seeing the documentary Empire of Dreams, and some of, like, Joe Johnson, some of the guys that were in that, like, were you part of the Van Nuys ILM Empty Warehouse crew? Or
yes and no, but I had my own splinter unit just doing pyro because we needed a very high ceiling to do the explosions. In other words, the zero gravity explosion process is where the camera is on the ground shooting straight up to the ceiling.
So that is true. I was going to ask you that.
And between the ceiling and the camera is the charge. And the charge will be a 360 explosion.
I'll lay down right now. Can we do something like that right here?
No, I was going to ask you
Is
that.
a tall enough ceiling?
No, it'd be, 4th of July's over.
I'm seriously trying to sign. You guys
We're doing an interview here. You want to come
You're,
in? What
you're
are you
in big
doing?
trouble with us next. We're coming over there to get you next.
All this riffraff coming
What
in
I was
here.
going to ask, actually, was, in that documentary, the guys were like, when they saw the film for the first time, they actually exclaimed, like, wow, who worked on this? Like, they could not have pieced it together when they saw it. I guess all the elements, the Star Destroyer going overhead, your work combined with the music, it was like...
Yeah,
And we thought
when
this
it all
George
came
Lucas
together, it
was
was
some crazy mute.
mute.
Well, they say he didn't talk much during
No,
production.
I've met
You
him.
know
I have
what?
met him myself. He's not
George,
talking.
I got to tell you, George never told me how to blow up the Death Star.
No?
No. We had a meeting one day in front of the trench. He says, I want an explosion here, there. I said, okay, what do you want to see, George? You want to see fire? You want to see texture? You want to see sparks? You want to see... What do you want to see? What do you want to see? He looks at me, he turns around, starts walking away, and he turns around and says, I just want to see them fry. You just want to see them fry? Yeah, that's it. And he walks away. So he in essence is giving me the ball and I'm running with it. So I think I scored a touchdown.
Well, that's where the hiring process is so vital to get visionaries like yourself. So when, I guess, not all the adjectives are there, you can do something special.
Oh shit, we were all kids at the time. I
So
mean,
you're like,
we had
this
ideas.
sky high. Watch this, George. I'm gonna blow up half of Van Nuys.
We have
Well,
a lot
that's
of Star Wars fans that listen to. We have a massive Star Wars following for some reason in Combat Radio. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans just that are out there? Because, as I've told you, there's hundreds of thousands of them out there.
You know, the fans are great. I love them. They know what is good, what is bad. They know what's going on. I mean, and especially the hardcore fans that know every single frame of film.
They do.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll stop and play over again, and you know, but they've all been great to me. I like to meet you all. So,
well, Joe, are there any filmmakers that you see who are carrying on the tradition of doing stuff in camera?
no. Well, Matt and Trey were one, but
No sequel to Team America in the works.
No sequel
I've
to
been
Team
begging for it for
America
years.
or Independence Day. However, they were thinking about it.
I watched Independence Day the other day just because it was obviously the 4th of July. It was on again.
Yeah.
That is a good movie. That is
It's
great
a
film.
fun popcorn Saturday afternoon matinee kind of thing. You know, and it's just leave your brain at the door. Don't think about it.
But it's got everything in it. It's got
Don't worry,
everything
you don't have
in
any
it. You
pressure
know?
there with this crowd.
So, but that was the one I got the award for, and we blew up the White House once.
Fantastic.
We had three ready, and we only blew it up once.
And the helicopter rolls over in the front of the shot. Absolutely brilliant. It's
Where are the
such
two
a
White
great
Houses
shot.
you didn't blow up in your garage?
In the garbage. Now it's garbage.
You know what you could have gotten on eBay for that, buddy? I'll say something for the Star Wars fans to you, and I'm sure they'd all like to thank you for your work on the film.
Well, I thank them for appreciating it, and I would like to say that the best is yet to come.
I think so. Can I ask you one thing in closing here? First of all, I hope you come to the station and do another interview with us in the actual studio
Why?
environment, because we like you. I know you don't like us, but that
okay.
hardly matters
I
around
hate
us.
you guys.
That really hardly matters if you like us or not. It's who we like that go.
I don't even know you. How can I like you?
Well, there you go.
You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.